interesting.
So that means Kaido has to be the captain, right?
So to me, Kaido would be the owner of the deck. You know what I mean? Like, I own
he's the
this.
owner of the
This
deck.
is my deck.
Yeah.
I play with these cards however I feel like. And then that numbers theme and card theme is there with everything that's connected to Kaido and his crew. Down to Doflamingo with the suits and he had Trebol and Diamante, and then they were all different suits of cards. Yeah. And they're technically an affiliate of him, and that's the Joker. Those are his wild cards, right? Mm-hmm. He's his wild card. Now, then King and Queen and Jack, obviously the royalty face cards. And then it's like he has the numbers. He has all of his Flying Six and Toby Ropo. They have like card themes and names. Headliners have names like Poker and Gin Rummy and Sheep's Head.
Black Maria.
Black Maria. They're all card games of different cultures. Where Ace fits in, that's the real, I don't know, because, and is the question, where would Ace rank in the crew? Like, if he was in there? Or is it just talk about the card thing?
I think it's worded a little weird, but I think it's if Ace was a commander in the Kaido, the Beast Pirates, like Jack, Queen, and King, and also Dofi is the Joker. Okay. The next card would be Ace.
Yeah.
I think maybe, I don't know, because Ace also had the Ace Pirates.
Yeah. Spade Pirates. Yeah.
The Spade Pirates.
The way I look at it is, I think Ace is stronger than Jack. And I'm confident that I do believe that he would be Jack in a fight.
Yo, I don't know about that, bro.
I do.
I'm gonna be real, I don't know.
I do.
Ace had a 500 million berry, bro. Belly bounty.
That was rookie Ace. Rookie Ace got 500. Was it 550? I think it was 550.
550,000. Yeah.
And then he got into multiple New World scraps after.
You think
that.
Jack losing at that point in time against Blackbeard? You think Jack is losing to Blackbeard at that point in time?
Yes, but I also rate Blackbeard very
this
highly.
Might be a Lionel take, bro.
No, it's not. Listen.
No, Blackbeard is stronger
than you think, man.
Yeah.
So you're saying at that point in time, Blackbeard was Jack level strong?
Well, let's put it this way, right? Blackbeard was already strong from the get.
Yes.
And he had 20 years on Whitebeard's crew.
Getting into New World scraps.
But also, the entire time he was getting by with just like hiding his real strength. Mm-hmm. So obviously he had to fight. And if you look up Blackbeard, he doesn't really have any marks or anything. So he had to fight, but he was hiding his real strength the entire time because his real plan was to become his own pirate and his own pirate crew. So he wanted to keep that a secret. He was just there just to find the darkness fruit and then do his own thing. Exactly.
Do his plan.
Yeah.
And not only that, Ace said, Teach, why don't you go for the commander spot? Knowing this dude is strong enough to be a commander on this ship. And my commander at that.
Yeah.
I'm going to highly disagree with all of that. Because that sounds crazy.
No, Ace even said it. Dude, man.
So even with Blackbeard hiding his strength, he was still able to stand out to be a commander on Whitebeard's crew.
I feel you. I get you.
And Jack, I love Jack. He's probably my favorite Beast Pirates. The dude doesn't win fights.
I hear you.
He just doesn't.
But we're talking about...
Ace is a King's Disposition hockey user. He can, at the minimum, he'd probably have a hockey plume. I've seen Ace fight for 5 days versus Jinbei, who is a fisherman, probably the strongest fisherman. I guess Jack.
Jack is the strongest fisherman to date.
Would he beat Jinbei in a fight?
Yeah, I don't know if he would beat Jinbei.
That's what I'm saying. And Ace drew with Jinbei. You know what I mean?
He beat Jinbei in a fight.
I don't
Is
know.
He though?
Well, hold on. How do you rate what's his name? Ashura Doji?
Yeah, he speed blitzed Jack.
He speed blitzed Jack.
Jack. Listen, he got. I don't want to say one shot by Zoe.
I seen him get one shotted by Zoe, and he got back up and was
eventually.
All right, so we're gonna so we have to put also his characteristics into play, right? So he's a fishman, 1. Mm-hmm. 2, he's a Zoan. Uh-huh. All right, and he's a legendary Zoan or
no, just ancient.
Mammoth.
Ancient Zoan. Yeah. So that means he's stronger than a regular Zoan. So that means he's more durable as well. Yeah. Now, granted, even if his fruit gets taken away from the Dark No Me, at the end of the day,
that takes away that durability.
Yeah. But he still has the fishman durability.
True, but I've seen Jack Hack. What's his name? Hack got one-shotted by Bartolomeo's barrier, bro. They're not. There's.
But we
weak
talking about
fishermen.
Jack. He also has hockey
And so
knowledge,
does
and
Blackbeard.
he can use hockey.
So does Blackbeard, and the ability to take away his nose.
I think this is a wild conversation.
But when we're going by him against Ace, though, like the durability is fire. So your durability is not gonna hold that much against fire because it's not physical attack; it's a being burned. You know, like
I feel
mammoths, as strong as they are, you could eat.
You
mammoth
like
meat.
fish sticks?
You could eat. You could eat mammoth meat. You know what I'm saying?
Listen,
Mammoth meat.
It's roasted. It's roasted. You know what I'm
Yo,
saying?
would it have been mad awkward if like Jack turned into his mammoth form and then him and Zoe touched tusks? That'd be awkward, bro. I just need to know.
crossing tusks. bro.
Crossing tucks.
I'll say this: Jack's hybrid form is gonna look weird.
Yeah, I picture him with the
I hope it's cool.
long
He's
nose.
gonna have like this super long nose. And he's gonna like.
No, he's gonna look like what's his name?
Nah, he's gonna look like with a nose. You remember in Tropic Thunder where Ben Stiller played the mentally ill person?
Uh-huh.
He make my eyes ring. Like he has the same haircut, but with the nose.
He does have that.
All right, well then. Do you think in his hybrid form he has like the tusks too?
He should have tusks. He
That's
should
He's gonna look like an orc.
super buff and just have that huge nose face and just I don't know.
All right.
He's gonna be huge. But like, so I want to know, like, the suit wise though, because if we're going by, because Joker is the highest, is usually the highest card in the deck.
I mean, you know how I feel about Doflamingo and Commanders and stuff.
Right. So it's like, so going by that, so like, but then Ace is also the second highest. So that means Joker and Ace. would
Listen,
be,
we can play the guessing game all day.
I ain't
I'm just going by. I'm
I'm
not saying that. I'm talking about just off the because you know King is like supposedly Kaido's right hand man.
All right, so King is dominating Ace. Queen dominates Ace.
I'm just going by the
Jack
class.
beats Ace. Easy.
Jack's not being Ace.
Easy.
Jack-
you know
Jack
what this
is
is
Jack.
very reminiscent of?
Do you think-
When people were talking about Anel. So crazy, yo. Because you know what Anel's bounty would be if he was on land? I would have said 500 million.
Ace
You
was-
know,
But that was rookie Ace.
yo, it's
Ace was
crazy
higher,
though.
though.
Oh, I
Listen.
don't. Yo, all I'm saying is, it sounds like y'all supporting Anel, and I support y'all for supporting Anel because the church is here. All right. So I appreciate that.
I'll say this for this. To me, Jack don't be winning.
I feel you.
And Ace has fought like you don't think he can beat the fourth
Yo, who
commander,
Ace beat
bro?
though? And I hate that we're having this conversation.
Jinbei. That beating Jinbei is a bigger
What?
dub than
Hold on.
anything
Did
Jack
he
has.
really beat Jinbei?
He fell
All right,
second and
so
got up first.
hold on.
That's a dub.
I got some info for you.
Talk to me.
That's only in the anime.
Anime be right sometimes.
Listen, I love Ace, my favorite character.
He still got up before Jinbei did. At the minimum.
That's okay.
Also to
That's
fight
okay.
Whitebeard.
So what?
Ace was still able
He
to
was able to
fight
have energy to fight Whitebeard.
So he was still able to fight. So that means if Jimmy still
And
wanted to
Jinbei,
fight,
and they were by water, so it wasn't no
Oh,
limitations.
that's
to Jinbei.
crazy. So you're saying Katakuri won because he stood up and Luffy was on the ground. Yeah, yo, it all makes sense now, yo. It all makes sense that people start to realize what I realize about a fight, and now they going again, they contradicting themselves.
No, Katakuri literally gave up. He said,
Look at
yo.
him. Stuttering. Come on,
he
man.
said, this man, I don't have it in me to continue fighting and to defeat this man. Well, he knew that nothing that he did would stop Luffy long term. period.
Listen, bro,
He came to that realization.
I appreciate you for supporting Enel
I'm
and
not
for supporting
supporting-
Katakuri
Listen.
actually winning against Luffy.
Either
Cool,
way,
man.
if the question is whether Doflamingo is stronger than King and Queen, the answer is yes. That is the answer.
It would be, but Ace ain't.
I don't know this, but Larry hates Buggy and
Oh
he
my
hates
God.
Usopp.
They're the same character.
So I love Buggy personally,
Same character.
but like it was a nice little fun.
Yeah, I enjoy the cover pages.
I didn't. For some reason, usually I pay attention to more, but I guess maybe because it's buggy, I paid less attention. Because usually I read what's going on. Like, oh, it's buggy. All right, let's get into the chat. And usually I pay more attention, but I should probably look at it.
Yeah,
More.
I hate Buggy, bro.
And I don't even hate buggy.
It wasn't like a necessary chapter cover. It was one of the requests.
You know what Buggy's role needs to be? He needs to let us. We need to go on his own little adventure, but it has to be super dope. right? But it leads to that treasure that Captain John led to, and then we get the Captain John history being on the Rocks Pirates.
The thing is, they used to do this.
Yes,
They did this with Buggy
and
Ace. Like, and Buggy ran into Ace one time in the anime, and it was super cool. I don't know if you ever saw it.
No, he did. He was just on his ship.
Yeah,
and that was the kind, like, he had everybody shook, and it was able to hype up the Whitebeard Pirates and Ace and stuff. It's like, don't touch him, even though he's sleeping and worth all this money. Don't touch him. He's a Whitebeard pirate. He's Whitebeard's man.
Yeah, that was cool. I've seen that recently.
Yeah. It's like that kind of stuff. They need to do more of that.
By the way, I got ripped for saying King Disposition user.
Oh,
they were like, what is King Disposition? Are you talking, what is that? You sound goofy. All right, King Disposition, for you guys just wondering, it's Conqueror's hockey. Yeah. We're just so used to saying King's Disposition. It's the color of Supreme King, whatever. Yeah. We're going to just say, all right, so if, for example, like Luffy just used Conqueror's hockey, he could just wipe out, like, probably their whole side, except for the strong ones, because he did at Fishman Island when they were versing 100,000 fishmen. He knocked out 50,000.
But I think that's the point of the gifters and the headliners and the pleasures and stuff, is that Kaido's fodder itself is like of a higher caliber of fodder. Like half the dudes that we saw in this chapter were dudes that like Straw Hats had knocked out in chapters before, and they're back already. Yeah. Like that's the difficulty in it.
No, that
like
makes
it's
sense.
like, they're fodder, but it's like, even the fodder, it's like, they need more than one shot sometimes. Like, it's like, dang, bro. Like, I saw chapters ago, Zolo had cut one of the guy, he had like a stag beetle devil fruit, and he fought him and he cut him. And he probably beat him. And the dude was back in another chapter, like 5-6 chapters later, and on forums they were clowning Zolo for it. And I was like, nah, this just means that these fodder can take damage and get back up and keep fighting because they're all Zohan.
Yeah. Why hasn't a Sea King eaten the human ability at any point in time? Like, what would that be like?
The odds of that happening are like 0 in 3 trillion. Like, it's like 1 in 3 trillion or something like that. They'd have to eat the fruit. Like, the fruit would have to exist, be in the water, and then the Sea King would have to
because Chopper has it now, but the previous user, or like, you know, or like a human ate the sea king fruit. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, become that.
Because the thing is, like, for example, you know how the abilities they stay away from, like, they
imagine it's just Kaido. That's what it is.
I think Kaido can swim. He's a fish, technically. He's probably the only dude out here.
Hold on. Lawrence was saying something. What are you saying?
No, I'm gonna say, like, you know how, like, for example, the abilities weakness is the sea. Mm-hmm. So remember the whole theory of where the abilities come from.
Yeah.
So it has to be somewhere that's like away from the sea. Like, if maybe it's a tree that's doing it, but either way, the fruits itself, they're going to be away from the ocean. Yeah. So that's why there's no way I can think of a Sea King getting it, because
unless the Sea King swallowed an entire island.
No, because like the Sea Kings, they're only part of the. They're not all over really. They're kind of, especially the biggest Sea Kings.
They're in the combo.
I would agree with you for the most part, but like at the same time, it's a pirate show. So people are on boats with devil fruits all the time.
That's true too.
So it's like
that's a variable.
In this chapter, we had the devil fruit that was stolen from an enemy ship back in chapter 1.
Yeah.
It was on a ship. A Sea King technically could have ate that devil fruit at any point.
And we see Queen get kicked by Sanji. And I know everybody was hyped just because Sanji did something. You know what I'm saying? Like, Sanji did something. Oh my God.
Sanji's the boy.
Yo, Sanji kicked somebody. Yo, let's get up and start praising him. But
such a hater.
You know, he made Queen go into his hybrid form. And you know what's so impressive? Yo, Queen is becoming more interesting and more interesting as every chapter goes on. And to be honest, yeah, he's more interesting than Kaido right now. Yo, he's a Zoan. He's somehow
he's a Mecha Godzilla.
He's Mecha Godzilla.
He's Doc Ock and Mecha Godzilla in one person.
So what's impressive is that your body is already being altered by the devil fruit, and then he alters that alteration even further. And to see him with like a robot arm and like he's going hybrid form, so like it's like whatever he's doing is mixing in with his hybrid form. It's like Iron Man's Extremis happening too. Like, it's weird as hell, but like you can see how interesting Queen is more and more and more. And then the information he's letting out as well. Like he's like, yo, I worked on Mads. I don't exactly remember what Mads is.
They've never technically mentioned it before. They alluded to there being a science division of like the Marines that like Vegapunk and Caesar and Judge and maybe Queen now were on. So and like that's the assumption.
Yeah.
But they never technically said what Mads.
But it sounds interesting because I think I was actually talking to Lionel about it before. Is that like I think Judge said that he used to work with, like you said, Vegapunk, right? And Caesar was under Vegapunk or something like that, and then Queen is now saying that he was under Judge or something.
Or they were in something
together. I
assume they were all together.
So then they had the Mads was like to play on Mad Scientists. So you had a group of, I was thinking like, you know how they had the Rocks? Oh, that he had his own science
division of just the Rocks pirates.
The science version of Rocks.
It's interesting because now we're seeing DNA alteration from Judge. We're seeing body alteration from Queen, and then was Caesar in that division or no?
Who knows? But gigantification from Caesar, devil fruit manipulation from Caesar, weapons of mass
devil fruit manipulation is from Vegapunk though.
But smiles are Caesar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like whoever. It's crazy because Vegapunk is supposed to be greater than all these dudes. That's my thing. Like, what is he doing?
So
SSG about
when do you think Dr. Vegapunk is going to come into the story?
Very soon.
Because we have 5 years left.
Very soon. I'm saying when Wano ends, he'll probably either have shown up on panel or like that's the they have those bridges between arcs. Like that'll be a Vegapunk thing.
Okay.
Like I think Smoker said he was gonna go see him or something like that. I can see that just being.
What happened, Lawrence?
No, I'm saying that makes me think of something like you said, Ash, because I'm thinking very soon too, because like remember what just happened here. I don't know if this is gonna be this own arc in itself, but the Shichibukai just got abolished.
We both know that's not going to be his own arc.
But the thing is,
we're not drawing all that.
I know, probably not. But the thing is, the key behind that reason is what Vegapunk did. He created another world power that's able to equal or rival the strength of the Shichibukai to replace them, so the world government could use against the Shichibukai itself and the Yonko.
Yeah, you're right.
So that has to be that. So they have to show him from all that.
I think what's going to happen, we're probably going to see Dr. Vegapunk the same way we saw M. We'll probably see him silhouetted, of course, first, or the chapter will definitely just start off with him because Oda's done it before. Yeah. He started off a chapter where we just were just like, what is going on? But it just like super interesting, exposition chapter. Yeah, where we're just getting all this info.
Knowing him, it'll be a cliffhanger where Vegapunk is talking, and then you see the silhouette of him sitting in a chair or something, or working on something, and it's like. Vegapunk, somebody says his name, and he's like, what, on work? It'll be something goofy like that, but like that's how I envision he'll do it.
That we don't know it's Vegapunk at the time.
Or he's super badass, he just pulls up.
Question though, I was actually talking online about this too, because you see how Judge, Caesar, and Queen are. Yeah. They all kind of seem like evil. Like, do you think it's like Mad Scientist they're all evil, or is Vegapunk the only good one?
I don't think.
My opinion, I don't think Vegapunk is evil. I think Vegapunk is a guy who just was super gifted, got put into a position, and he's just working. Like he's just a guy who has no opinion about anything. If he does have an opinion, it's I want to make the world better. And the government's probably feeding him false details of this is how we make the world better, and he probably experienced something like pirate trauma. You know what I'm saying? Because all pirates aren't great. Like Kid is a main example of not being a great pirate. He's a dangerous pirate. Yeah. He's lawless. He's an outlaw. He'll kill if he needs to. He'll torture Marines, which is why his bounty was so high, right? Yeah. So I think that Vegapunk is just a normal dude. He's just he's smart as hell.
I've been teetering on the Vegapunk's evil or good side for a while now. I think he's good just because of what the CP0 said in a couple chapters ago about the dragon devil fruit and how Vegapunk deemed the fruit a failure and it was abandoned on Punk Hazard or whatever. And clearly it's not. So in his mind, the fruit's existence was too dangerous for the world government to have it. So him leaving, you know what I mean?
That's 100%.
So it's like, if he's playing that kind of role where he's gatekeeping to make sure they don't get two, like you can't have two Kaidos. Like we can't have a Kaido.
I've always said it. I mean? You can't have two Kizaros.
That's what I'm saying. So he's like, he'll do enough to get them to the point where it's like, okay, they can win, but he's not going to let them dominate.
So you're saying
I don't know why
you're teetering on that as a good thing or a bad thing?
The thing is, he's still making SSG. He's still making pacifistas. He's still doing stuff for the world government. He's whatever. So he's doing enough that they can get by and deal with stuff for the status quo as is. Mm-hmm. But now he's also doing stuff where it's like, I'm making enough to take on Yonkos, but I'm also making sure that Yonkos can't be created on our end because, like, I'm not giving them Kaido level.
That makes it sound like you're just saying, like, he's very thoughtful. So he's
thinking it out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It seems like he's the smartest person.
Yeah.
No, they said he was like, what was it, 500 years advanced?
His mind is 500 years more advanced than the next most advanced, like, smartest scientist.
Yeah.
Which is like,
that's kind of crazy.
How could you even
that's like,
quantify that?
I just started learning about black holes, bro. I created a black hole.
Back in 19, like, you know.
Like,
I traveled time.
But we're learning about devil fruits and how they do things. Like, I made one. It's right here.
Vegapunk, Dr. Vegapunk probably hates people like Toki and Kizaru. Like, abilities that are just way too powerful, he probably deems them, like, troubling. Because he's like, I can't probably, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like,
so one, it's a common theme with Zolo's fights, that he's always going through the ringer to win his fights.
Yeah.
So if he's fighting, like, King or whoever, probably King, because you know me, Zolo versus King all day. If he fights King, and midway through it
wears off.
The thing wears off, and now he's got to fight and beat King through Hawkeye, the attack with Kaido and Big Mom, like through that damage, but double plus whatever King has dealt him. That is a Zolo thing. Like that's the reason why we love Zolo is that he can fight through that, willpower through it, and win. And again, that's how you get hockey blooms. You know what I mean? So if it plays out that way, I'll love it. If he's able to just fight and beat somebody because of it, and it doesn't play a role in that fight, hell no, I'll hate it. It'll be my least favorite Zolo moment of all time. Not even playing with you.
I was thinking about it, and like sometimes I get really like this, you know how I feel about pre-time skip Zoro and Luffy, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm always gonna believe pre-time skip Zoro was stronger, but this is one of the cases I make too, because when Chopper said it's going to be doubled, I immediately thought of what Kuma did.
Another Thriller Bark parallel.
And it's another Thriller Bark parallel. And I was like, yo, real talk. I see Luffy accumulated all this damage, passed out. And then I see Zoro take all that damage plus whatever fight he had with Moria and Ors, right? And he's standing up. He's obviously struggling, which he should be struggling, but he's standing up. And I was like, if it was anybody else, it wouldn't be acceptable, except for like Sanji. Maybe. But at the same time, it's like I feel like his hockey should have bloomed then. Like his Conqueror's hockey in some short way should have bloomed then, because he took more damage than Luffy and used more willpower in that instance than Luffy did, because Luffy passed out from it.
But he may have to survive.
I just feel like it should have been insinuated that hockey was being used, and it blossomed a bit, because we're just now seeing his Conqueror's hockey display itself, and we're still unsure of it because of Enma.
But think about it this way, and I know I'm about to bring up some anime only stuff, right? But when did we start really saying Zolo has King's Position hockey? It was the next arc.
It was Archipelago.
Yeah. That's the next arc. Literally, when Zolo wakes up and he's not fully recovered, but when he's able to move about, we started saying Zolo has King's Position hockey. That was the last most impactful thing that he had gone through. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to me, that would be a hockey boom. You know what I mean? Like that was him. We just didn't see it. I know I'm stretching, but that's.
I feel you.
I think it's also to remember. I mean, it might have, like you said, it might have been only in the manga. I mean, the anime as well. But remember when, like you said, the same arc,
Archipelago.
Yeah, I always say it wrong.
Say Chapodi.
I always say it wrong. But remember when those guys, I think bounty hunters, come to Zolo?
I always say Sabaody. It's like Shabuti.
You're probably right.
I don't
know what it is.
I be pronouncing words wrong, bro.
Archipelago, man.
I'm gonna call it Shibuti. It sounds good.
Shibuti?
All right, go. Say what you're
On
gonna say.
Shibuti, right? Zolo, he gets confronted by those bounty hunters.
Ancient booty. Where am I getting that from? All right, now keep going.
By those bounty hunters. I remember he kind of seemed like a little glimpse of it where he looks at them and they completely.
That's what we were mentioning.
Yeah,
that's what we were mentioning.
I don't think that happened in America.
No, I searched because I was arguing. You remember when we used to do the group meet?
Yeah.
And we used to argue? Yo, I always looked for that panel and I couldn't find it, so it didn't happen.
It was perfectly placed.
But
It was.
Oda does have the say when it comes to the anime. He allows for example, Oda said in the SBS. They come to him for powers they want to give certain people in the show, and he goes, "Yo, you can't use that power because I'm going to use it in the story." Mm-hmm. So he'll tell people you can use this because I'm not using it. Tessero, I think that's the name, right? Gold Tessero,
Gold.
something like that. The dude that can manipulate gold.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm never going to use that power, so go ahead and do it." So he has some say. So listen, man, Zoro. All I'm saying, Zoro displayed it.
If
he had it down packed.
If there's a scene where Zolo looks dope in the scene, it's automatically canon. That is how One Piece works. It just is.
So Zoro comes back. We assume he'll probably take on. I think he's gonna go right back up. He's gonna go back up with Luffy. Him and Luffy are gonna meet up, and I think they're gonna go up and continue fighting Kaido.
Yeah.
Because now it's gonna be Luffy and Zoro fighting Kaido, and. Even though Luffy says "Yo, go downstairs, I can win," I think he's too beat up. I think he's probably too fatigued, but he's probably just gonna fourth will it out and just do what he has to do. So I don't know.
You don't think Zolo's fighting King?
King just has been non-existent, man. And Marco's there.
Zolo. As soon as we saw King with that sword,
Zolo's fighting.
everyone was like, "He's fighting King."
Hopefully,
dude. As soon as King and Queen were named,
yeah.
I said Zolo.
So let me ask you guys this: when you saw Who's Who, and he was unsheathing his sword, and you just saw the shoulders. Yo, what did you guys think?
I thought it was hilarious, and I thought it was dope. Because I was like, all right, he's about. Oh, what? All right, cool.
I was like, damn, yo, I guess he was compensating for something, huh?
You have this giant sheath. And you just
why do you got a giant sheath? I'm confused.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an assassin, right? He's a CP. He's a cipher pull agent, which Lionel called it. I got to give him his props.
Did he call that?
Yes, Lionel called it the first time we saw him. The second we saw him, he said, "Yo, he's a cipher pull agent." I was like, "What? Yeah. Why?"
The only thing he messed up was that he believed that he was still working for the government.
Oh, that's the only thing.
I thought it was double agent.
Lionel be hitting, bro.
And I've been trying to tell y'all that those techniques were hockey. How long did I say that?
Then
how
it's not
long?
fully hockey.
What you mean?
No, I think it's you could do both. You could hard your body and do tech fight. I separate them.
So it was interesting, man. It was interesting. It's weird though because now he's transformed 3 times against Jinbei.
That's like 2 cats.
And I gotta give Jinbei his props because a lot of
super
so this is the thing for me. So a lot of when we were talking about the hierarchy within the Straw Hats strength wise and who's 4th and 5th right now. Is the monster trio really over? We don't know, right? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about it and I was like, well, it does make sense. Jinbei is fighting Toby Roper right now, the highest one. Queen is above that. So in terms of Sanji fighting Queen, it just makes sense the way the show's always gone that, Sanji's stronger. And then I started to think about it, and I was like, well, Jinbei kind of getting jumped by gifters. Mm-hmm. And he's getting shot at. He's also fighting a flying 6 member who's the strongest one, and he seems to be stronger than everybody else by far. He's stronger than a lot of them by far. Black Maria's never touching him. All the others are not touching him. He has this if he is still a rival of Rob Lucci, if this is where Rob Lucci is, I don't think Rob Lucci is here. I don't think he's at this level. I think Rob Lucci is a little bit higher. But that doesn't mean that, Who's Who is that strong too. I'm just saying, if they're still rivals, then he has to be stronger than what we're seeing right now. So I don't think Jinbei himself is not stronger than Sanji. I think if anything, they're even right now because Sanji's fighting Queen 1-on-1. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, am I stretching it too far?
No, this makes sense. It makes sense to me. But the thing about it is, right? The way Oda has always done it, it's the Monster Trio and then everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I know Jinbei being here typically changes that in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
But like you said it at the beginning, he's fighting a Toby Roppo. And it's not just, there's a Toby Roppo and then there's Queen. There's Jack between them.
Yeah.
Now, whether you think who's who is stronger than Jack, that's another argument entirely.
Yeah.
But there's literally this person, then this person, then this person, and then you're making the assumption that who's who, and I agree with you, is that next person. But in the thing, it was seemingly who's who, Sasaki and Drake would all be in consideration for a Calamity spot.
Yeah.
Right? Or All-Star, I don't know how you guys are, I say Calamity. So, I agree though. I think who's who is the strongest of the Toby Roppo. That's why Jinbei is fighting him. But does that mean he's beating Jack in a fight? Maybe, possibly. Again, Jack be losing. But that's still a whole level.
But you're saying
person,
that Ace would beat Jack.
Ace would be who's who. And he would beat Jack.
I
don't sleep on Ace.
I don't see who's who beating Jack. I don't.
That's the thing too. Jack is like super durable, bro. Like in so many ways.
He's a saber-tooth tiger.
Also to see that is dope. And I know that they're both cats. Rob Loosely, and who's who, both cats.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason I'm saying is like what Kaido said. He said, "This is my hand-picked Calamity," like showing a care for Jack when he was getting jumped in by by them. He said like Jack was special to Kaido.
Yeah.
So and it was for his strength. It wasn't like, oh, that's my son or anything. It was for his strength. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, I don't think who's who beats Jack. It could be a good fight, but I don't see it.
Jack's also like 10 years younger than who's who. Mm-hmm. He's 28. Who's 38.
It's interesting because when I was thinking about it, how they knew each other, I was like, yo, real talk, we should have guessed that. Like Jinbei was in jail for a while, yeah. And then obviously we learned that Who's Who was a former agent of CP9, and he was a rival of Rob Lucci. And then we get a little bit more information where the whole internet has been raving about it, which I kind of don't get because it doesn't seem that cool or important.
I don't like it.
Me either. We learn. Hold on, let me finish. We learned that, he was protecting the Gomu Gomu no Mi, and the chapter ends. Mm-hmm. How do you feel, Lawrence, about the whole thing? I'll start with you.
So how I see it, right? To me, I think it's interesting because then Shanks just stole a fruit from, I guess, a government ship.
We assume he stole it from the government ship because Lucky Roo said we stole it from an enemy ship. He never said a government ship. But keep going.
True, that's true. It could be the.
Yeah, but we're talking about Oda writing like the first 10 chapters. But keep going.
So, but also too, and how I see it because it's interesting because like. How I view it is like the world government, right? They're always dabbing on things to increase their power, their strength, or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. You saw them; they had experimenting on Kaido, trying to make fruit. So it's like to me, I'm viewing it as they got a fruit, and they're probably looking at where it comes from, or how to grow more, or how to make copies of these abilities. And it was stolen from them. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's like they're just housing. They probably had it to protect it. Now, I'm not saying that it was special or anything, but the fact that they wanted to do research, finding out. Because they had the fruit itself. I don't know how many times they got the possession on a fruit itself like that. Because most of the time the people already had them and they're meeting them. Like they had Kaido, but fruit's already in them. Yeah. They're studying Kaido. But how many times did they had the fruit to themselves? Yeah. So they could have been trying to see if we could get a seed to plant more if it had seeds, or grow more, or like try to duplicate where it's the makeup of why is it this fruit giving people abilities? Yeah. So I was doing more that way.
Okay. A lot of people don't see it that way. I can tell you that. Yeah. I know that. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. So it really depends on where Oda's going with it. If they're saying that the fruit is special to me, because part of Luffy's lore, like the allure of Luffy, is that he had this trash devil fruit that he's turned into something super dope that he's able to manipulate and do things with. If the fruit was all like, if it's like a fruit that somebody in the past has had and they've brought it to like a super high level already. That takes a little bit away of the shine of what Luffy is. Like he's the embodiment of freedom, and him having this special devil fruit, being a D, being the, I don't want to say reincarnation of person, but that's not freedom. That's like him being locked into a role that he was destined to play. I would much rather there be a prophecy and Luffy fulfills the prophecy because he's earned it, like he's actually worthy of the prophecy.
Yeah.
Versus him eating somebody's devil fruit that was something before. Now, to me, there's 1,000 ways he can go with this. Like, just the fact that the devil fruit itself is special could just be, oh, they were looking at ways to counter Whitebeard's devil fruit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, there's a quake fruit. If you awaken the rubber fruit, you could make the quakes bounce. Like, there's 1,000 different ways the world government can value a devil fruit. Plus, it's a devil fruit.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we wanted. Why wouldn't we want to have this devil fruit? It's just that narration box that said it was special that rubbed me the wrong way. That's it. If that didn't happen, I'd be like, oh, cool, that's what's up. You know what I mean?
Wait, what box you talking about?
At the end of the chapter, they were like, or maybe I read another.
Because I didn't read that when I was on it.
Yeah. Well, we only got a little bit of time left before we go, so I'll just give my synopsis, and then we'll just rate the chapter and then end it there. Oh, and then I'll say one other thing. Just to make it short, I didn't like it. I didn't like it because of the fact that, like, the Gomu Gomu no Mi has never been special. It's just been a fruit, like you said, that Luffy turned into something extreme through just the time he's had it to the time he has now, which we know every fruit can elevate, to those levels if they have enough training behind them. And then, just knowing that Shanks might have had a role in it, and now the theories are that, Shanks was 1 year old when God's Valley was happening, and this fruit could have been, Roxas fruit, so that's why the government is so weary. But like, this is the issue with that for me, is the government and the Gorosei have never brought much attention to Luffy. Then they've actually tried to hide Luffy in some ways, and I think that they don't bring enough attention to him if he does have this fruit. Like, we haven't seen it. So to me, I was kind of like, it's interesting, but it's not important. Mm-hmm. So just to leave it at that. What's your rate for the chapter? 1 out of 10. I
like it a lot. A lot happened. Let's go, I guess, 6.
6? You?
I'll give it an 8. I really actually did like this chapter. That one part was, I don't know.
I gave it I'm going to give it like a 6.9. 6.9.
Your points.
I'm going to give it like a 6.9. That's how I feel about it.